And as I think that aging is such a blessing and such just like, I'm thankful every day for being able to get older. It's like I cannot be mean already to like 85-year-old Camila. Like I can't already be setting myself up to be judgmental of wherever 85-year-old Camila is health-wise. So like, let me be kind to myself now so that I can be kind to 85-year-old Camila, 75-year-old. Hi, it's me, Camila Rose, and I am finally back for a first video for 2026 that's actually going to be talking about 2026. So the last video that I shared was the wrap up for my 185 Insane for 2025, kind of like all the different stats and all that fun stuff that I did. And then I shared just my closing thoughts at the end. And so now let's talk about 2026. So first off, I started my 2026 countdown the last week of December of 2025 because I wanted to be able to have 13 weeks for each quarter, which meant I had to start a little bit earlier. And I liked looking at quarters, and I liked, grab something yummy to drink. I like looking at quarters, and I like having each quarter be separate and then breaking that down into 4 weeks per each quarter. Which now that I think about it, oh yes, it is 13. It's 4 weeks per each quarter, month of the quarter. There we go. So 4 times 3 is 12, and it's 13 weeks per quarter total, so that I have a week built in to kind of like wrap up and review and decide what I want to carry over into the next quarter. So 4 weeks total per each section per each quarter. And 3 of those sections, 4-week sections. I really like that because it gives me some flexibility. One thing that I recognize about myself is that making a like yearly goal or intention is too far into the future. It does not account for things changing that are outside of my control. It does not account for me being able to identify what's working and what's not working and then be able to make the decision to change it. Because if I were to lock in on what I wanted for 2026 and then turns out halfway through 2026, I realized like I don't actually want to do any of that. You know, I would change it and it wouldn't bother me. But I recognize that the framework of it is that like, see this through, stick it out and all that. And I'm just like, no, let me make small choices and decisions about what I'd like to focus on based on what I know is important right now and what will get me towards bigger goals, like publishing my books and providing new products through the Bliss Institute, increasing my income, those types of things. Let me make small, actionable, manageable things that I can accomplish as areas to focus on instead of making these overarching, large, 12 months ahead of time, you know, goals that just don't provide enough space for change, for transformation, for life to surprise me. And I really want to leave space for life to bless me, to receive miracles, to be surprised and to be in awe and to be curious about what else I could do or where else I could expand or where could this take me. So that's how we're working out the kind of outline for the next year. So we're in the first quarter, and I did come up with quite a few of like things that I'm tracking, behaviors that I'm tracking. I don't even necessarily want to call them habits. They're really just behaviors, things that I want to do. And part of this was because I realized that a lot of my intentions that I really wanted to focus on for the first quarter are very existential in nature. You can't really measure them per se. So like the first one, the primary one is to allow myself to like open up my heart and to keep my heart open so that I am not as protective and defensive, that I'm not leaning into judgment or ridicule or lack of trust between myself and lack of trust between other people. So I'm like, I'm going to just test out a bunch of different things a bunch of different activities and behaviors and tools for allowing myself to heal emotionally, to change my ideology when it comes to how I think about being able to have space and connection with others, and to do what feels like allowing my heart to be open, because I felt like I was very kind of closed in. I have, sorry, these allergies in Texas. I have a really great friend group, and continuously throughout 2025, I was shown how well my community functions and how loving and caring and present they are all willing to be, and how I am willing to be present and open and caring with them. And that really was such a comforting, welcoming space to walk into 2026, because I just knew that this there wasn't this sense of being alone. There wasn't this sense of being isolated. One of the things that has always been really helpful, that I have been an advocate of since I started 185 Insane, was limiting my social time on social media. Limiting my screen time, limiting the amount of time that I was scrolling. And like, I still scroll. And that's for me always kind of my thing, is it's moderation over just, abstinence. I don't necessarily need to cut it all off. I don't need to say like I don't have any social medias and things like that. But if I got to that point, I probably would. But I think it's in the same way of like, I'm a vegetarian and I never ever talk about this. And I guess I'm really a pescatarian. I'm a pescatarian. I never talk about it. I rarely ever talk about what my eating lifestyle is, what my diet and eating habits and lifestyles and beliefs are. I studied food science and food studies in my master's degree in sociology and women's studies. And what I found is that what people eat, why people eat what they eat, culture and philosophy, humanitarianism, all of those things play such a vital role in the decisions that we make about what we consume, that for me, I understand how important it is to be mindful of how I speak about what I eat and what other people eat. And honestly, it's kind of none of my business. It's kind of none of theirs, except for if we're eating together. But the people who are in my life who maybe would be cooking for me or doing things for me are all pretty aware that like I don't really eat meat. If they've never seen me really eat it, I don't really talk about it. I never order it. And so I say this because it's how I kind of realize is best for me to approach all things, is to understand what works best for me. And to understand that completely abstaining from something is not always the healthiest mindset for me, because it could become very extreme. And that can take me down a path that's just very unhealthy, particularly if I'm in a very stressful situation and I might be using this as a form of control. So I'm never going to say that like I don't eat, I guess, fish. I eat fish. I don't eat cattle and chicken. But if I went somewhere where culturally it was really significant to have that meal, I would eat it out of respect and honor for them. And like, what if one day I change my mind? So I might change my mind one day. Maybe I get a health diagnosis where it's like, hey, it would be really helpful if you consume more animal products and more meat products specifically, so that you could get whatever it is that I'm missing that I need from that. And if I got that recommendation, I would do it. And there's, for me, no big deal with that. I feel the same way about like consuming sugar, around the amount of movement that I do, around like what I buy and anything like that. Like there is nothing where I'm personally going to take a very extreme stance. And if I do say that like I don't do certain things, I don't shop at certain places, but it's not something where it's like if that's the only choice, and really usually there's other choices, or if somebody else is really adamant that like that's where like that's what they want to do, I don't have any comment on it, because they have to make their own choices. They have to be able to, we all have to be able to, at the end of the day, at the end of our lives, be able to look back and know that we made the best choices for ourselves. And if I am projecting or inputting my own personal opinion onto others or accepting their projections or their own personal opinions about my actions and my behaviors, then I can't look back and say, like, I was truly doing this and it was the best decision for me. And I know that that's very important for me as a value and as a way of looking and living my life. And so I follow that through. And that goes back to how it is that I design and choose what it is that I focus my time and my energy on, my task and the behaviors that I track, the intentions that I set, the things that I desire to do because I want to and because I like to, and leaving space to be able to change my mind when I need to. And being able to also accept failure and rejection because I may want to do something, I may desire to do something, and it just might not work out. But there's also, because there's not that pressure to have a specific outcome, the goal is not to have the acceptance and get in and get it 100% or to do this or to do that. The goal would be to send it in and do the application. The goal would be to then like wait for the next step, because the next step would then be getting admitted. And once I'm admitted, okay, then what's the next step after that? And allowing myself to the space to keep saying that, like, okay, I just have to keep following the next right step. I just have to keep moving forward. So even if, like, if I turn in the application, fantastic, you did it. If I don't turn in the application, what happened? What happened where I didn't do it? Why not? Was I scared? Was I anxious? Did I not have enough time to actually, if I don't have the time to turn in the application, like really, truly do not have the time, I probably don't have the time to really go through this program or to finish this thing that I'm applying for. There are these conversations where I think we're not as honest with ourselves as we could be, because there is, I believe, this sense of not wanting to feel like we are limited. I just finished reading, and I was reading a lot. The end of 2025, going into 2026, all I was doing was like knocking out books. And I was reading, it'll be up here, 4,000 Weeks Time Management for Mortals by Oliver. I don't know. Let me see if I can get him to show me what his last name is. Oliver Berkman. And one of the things I thought was really interesting about what he said in his book was the acceptance that time is finite for us, that we will not live forever, regardless of whether we decide to upload our consciousness into some device or something. Like, at some point in time, we will not exist in these forms in which we are currently existing. And I think this ties into something that was also very prominent and important for me as I increased my movement and physical activity. Because last year, with my 185 Insane and with my goals, I really wanted to do 4 miles 5 times a week, a long walk out of one of those. I added running because I get bored with walking. So I'm like, I need to do something a little different. So I added running in there and run my little weekly 5Ks and things like that, just to give me something different to do, to keep the interest there so that I wasn't becoming bored with this physical activity, even though I really understand how important it is for my health and for my mental health, my physical health and mental health. Anything, you will become acclimated to anything. Any action, you'll become acclimated to it. So I was like, I got to switch it up a little just to keep things interesting. But I understood that it was so important that I recognized that in this moment, in this time, I'm able to go on walks. I can do 4 miles, I can do 7 miles, I can do 13 miles. I can do these walks, I can do these runs 2-3 times a week. But that may not always be the case. And as I age, it will probably not be the case. So there was an understanding of not making this something that I become so attached to, that I can do this physical activity, that it is a part of my identity. It's just something that I'm choosing to do right now. Because when my capabilities change, as they will as I age, I need to have space to allow for that to happen, to still love my body, to still love what I do, to still love how I can get movement in whatever fashion that looks like, without it being this sense of there will, of course, need to be grief for the change that is happening, but not blame and judgment and shame for what is occurring because I'm being realistic and honest about where I am now and what I understand is a possibility for where I will be as I get older. And as I think that aging is such a blessing and such just like, I'm thankful every day for being able to get older. It's like I cannot be mean already to like 85-year-old Camila. Like I can't already be setting myself up to be judgmental of wherever 85-year-old Camila is health wise. So like let me be kind to myself now so that I can be kind to 85-year-old Camila, 75-year-old Camila, 65-year-old Camila, 55, 45, Camila in 6 months. Let me be kind to myself now so that I can be kind to her then. I like to watch Jess. I can't remember her last name, but she says always that she's always saying, "This is for future Jess." I think her name is Jess. This is for future me. That's how I look at being kind to myself now. I'm being kind to myself for future Camila, so that like I can be kind to her too. And so when I look at what it is that I'm tracking and I look at what it is that I've decided to focus on, and I look at my movement and I look at what I'm consuming, and I'm thinking about like, what would I like to try out? Because I've always been very much into like just seeing what works and what doesn't, making note of it, following along, trying it out, and being able to allow space to be like, well, that doesn't work. And I like human design. You might not be into human design, and I understand why you might not be into it. But I think it's very interesting, and I am a 3-5 projector in human design. And according to that framework, you are supposed to mess up, trial and error. You try things out, you see what works, you see what doesn't, you mess things up, and then you like keep building on what does work, even as you go through the maybe external and often internal judgment of the things that did. And so I like trying out different things to see whether or not it actually works for me. 4 miles, 3 to 5 times a week, more than that even. I've been doing 4 miles every day so far in 2026. Works for me. It's my happy spot. If I get that 4 miles in, my body feels good, my mind feels good. It is just a good space for me. 3 works okay. 2's a little too less. 1 is like, I just need to get a little bit of movement in. Anything beyond 4 miles is me really kind of pushing it. And it's really for me kind of allowing space for me to have that mental health reset. Because as you know, when I do my longer walks, I generally don't get on my phone. I don't do anything with social media. Like it is just me and my steps and my body and my thoughts and my feelings and nature. Because hopefully I'm outside. I have never walked longer than 4 miles inside, purposely like on a treadmill. I have my treadmill in my gym space. And so that's a mental health behavior and action and movement that I engage in. So I wanted to, because, I was like, yeah, it'd be fun. Let's do some challenges for 2026. And so I was like, well, I want to do a little bit more movement. I want to do a little bit more physical activity. I'd like to try out some different things. I have a pass to do ballet, which I still need to do. I still want to take those. Well, I'd love to do burlesque, but I can't find anybody who's teaching them. I'd love to do some pole dance classes. There's one I'd always like to go to on Tuesdays. I enjoyed doing the Pilates on the Reformer. They now offer Pilates mat at this yoga studio that I teach at. I'd love to take more yoga classes because I can take them at the studio I teach at. But what I realized as I sat down and did a lot of inner work, because as I'm focusing on my actual intention for this quarter, which is to open up my heart and to be more connected, to be more aligned with myself, to know fully and totally what my likes and dislikes are, what my desires are, and to be open and honest about those, and then to line up with them as much as I can, and then therefore to create better connection between myself and God, between myself and source, which will then in turn lead to me being more empathetic, being more heart aware, being more emotionally available, and help me to better connect with other people. The thing that I found out immediately as I focused on being more heart open and heart forward was how much more I felt just like easily able to see what was going on with other people and to connect with them and then to approach them and respond to them with like loving, compassionate kindness. Because it was just so easy to see myself in them because I wasn't closed off or because I wasn't defensive or because I wasn't, whatever. And it made me nicer. It made me nicer and it also made life so much easier. But I wasn't carrying that heaviness around within myself. And I understand where that heaviness came from. It was from a lot of previous experiences and ideas that I had carried around about myself that I needed to work on that ideology. And one of the things that made me so aware of, I do tarot readings for myself and I do tarot readings for other people, but you can follow that business journey in another video. But for myself, I do them at the new moon and the full moon. And as I was looking at kind of what was coming up, it was, and doing my inner work, I do a lot of somatic alchemy where I get in touch with what's going on within my body, identify the emotions, and then work with that through inner dialogue to figure out what's going on. As I did that around these strong responses that I was having to individuals of jealousy and envy, I realized that it was a scarcity mindset and ideology that I had. And that when I started to address that, it's what directed me towards an understanding that I needed to open myself up to receiving more and a heightened, increased awareness of my own connection, to abundance and source and creation and creativity. And so that's the impetus behind why I decided to make this my intention for this quarter. I realized I didn't need to be doing a lot of extra physical activity, that it really wasn't all that important to me. And what was most important was having time to be able to focus on the things I needed to do or that I wanted to do: the products, the writing, the publishing, the editing, things that I was in avoidance of and that I would use, oh, I'm going to go and work out again, or I'm going to focus on my physical health in this way and movement in this way. I haven't made any big diet changes in years. I did stop consuming just like, I guess, additional, I don't even know how to say it. Like, I don't just go out and have desserts and stuff, I guess, is really the only difference I've made. And I don't have like cookies or cakes or anything like that at the house. I do have sugar. I put honey inside of my drinks. I don't care about that. And I'm being mindful of that. I think I might do a little bit of something in February, but I don't feel the need to cut that off. But I knew that I was using the sugar as a replacement for connection. So I need to pull that back and allow myself the space to actually build the emotional connection and the comfort that I was seeking through consuming the sugar. When I identified what it was that I was doing to replace my needs and my wants, I knew I had to make the decision to change that. And once I made the decision to change that, then I had to look at, how do I shift my behaviors? What changes can I make? So I realized I don't really need to be adding extra movement stuff. That is just for fun. That's fun, extra, when I have the time and when I have the energy. Then I go and I take a class, or I'll go and I'll do this, but it's not a priority. Because I had, like, very easily, I had a list of priorities of stuff that I was like, oh no, this is where my time needs to go. Like, I really want to get these things done. I feel the inspiration for them. I have the desire for them. I think about it and I dream about it. As far as when someone asks me what I'm interested in, it always comes back up to these things. One, that I'm not sure what to do about it, but I'd like to do more travel. I'd like to do more events where I am traveling. While I am interested in doing, I usually travel for like religious purposes or for art. That's usually what drives my travel goals. And I'd like to travel a little for like wellness, just to test out and see what other people are doing. I think that it's fun and I enjoy it. But I would also like to add more travel as far as my business, as what I do and what I get paid for. I really feel like that would be like, I feel like that is the one thing that's missing from my business. And I went to a vision board slash vision journal event that I did not host. So I was just attending and it was fabulous. It was amazing. And the host is amazing. I love her. And Crohn's Cauldron, if you are looking for somebody to follow on Instagram. And she was talking about some of the stuff she had planned for her business. I have a lot of friends who own their own businesses, and they were talking about all the stuff they were planning to do and how they plan to expand and grow and increase their profits or attendance or whatever. And find more balance. They are interested in having more balance. But I realized, because I was like, oh, do I need to be expanding? Like, it made me think, do I need to be expanding the Bliss Institute? Should I be thinking about how I can do this in other places? Which, like, for travel, yes. But as far as like, do I need a physical location? No, I don't feel like managing that. Do I need to get employees? And I was like, no, I don't feel like managing that either. And then I thought to myself, the Bliss Institute has always, the purpose of it has been for me to have a home where I can take the things that I'm interested in, the knowledge and awareness that I have, and provide education and resources for other individuals to be able to reconnect with themselves, to remember themselves, and to express themselves truthfully and honestly and courageously. And so, as long as it is serving as a home and a platform for that to happen, then it is successful. And I don't necessarily have to do anything else with it. And so that really kind of changed my outlook towards when I think about like business goals and stuff like that, because I was like, it would be delightful to increase the profits. But I also felt and have had this feeling and desire to work in another field too, like maybe something that's very outside of the spiritual space. I had that balance before, and I would get pulled, a Libra with the scales, get pulled more into one and more into the other one. But since I've been so focused now on just the spiritual side, I look around and I think to myself, I would love to have some involvement, some form of a job, as in I am like tied to this endeavor that's not necessarily spiritually related. I don't know where that's going to be or what that's going to look like, but I would like it. I see jobs sometimes that I'm like, that sounds like fun. Program coordinators. I see a lot of like volunteer coordinators. I see a lot of like success coordinators and program managers and things like that. And I'm like, oh, that would be fun. That would be like so much fun to go and design that program and to like implement it and to get it nice and up and running and then like go find something else to do. Go pick up a new something to do. So I want to leave some space for that. I don't need this to be, I think so much that there's a lot for some folks that they're looking for this new thing, this passion, this dream, this side hustle of theirs to replace their full-time gig. And I watched, I think her name is Monica, but I don't remember her last name. She does a lot of the like crafting, and she has a candle company, and she does markets. She did markets, but she does a lot of selling online. And she was talking about how like she worked really hard and focused really hard on her business in order to replace her previous form of full-time income, which was from her software engineering job. But now that she's had time to reflect and has found success there, she's realizing that even in the way that her current business operates doesn't provide her with what exactly she was wanting for the lifestyle that she was wanting. So she's needing to make some changes there. And it just made me think to myself that like, I don't know if I'm interested in getting into this space of looking for the next thing. You're like, what's the next thing to replace this? Or once I get into this, like this would be the thing that I want to do all the time. I don't think I have the personality for that. I love variety. I love change. I love doing something for a bit of time and being able to do something different. Um, and I know I need to build that into the business infrastructure of the Bliss Institute. It needs to be flexible. It needs to be able to change and adjust as I change and adjust, because it's the home for the expression of my knowledge and my gifts and service. So I've been thinking about that a lot, about because that was kind of the same framework I had was I need to focus and dive into the Bliss Institute, and I need to work it long enough so that it can replace my full-time income, and then I'll just do that. But like I've pretty much been doing that for the last 3 years, and I still want different and more. Something completely unrelated. That's just like my mind can switch off all the stuff that's over here and go and be in this realm and then switch that off and come over here. So I just want to leave some space and I want to try out some different things. So there's that. So that's kind of been how I've been looking at the behaviors I'm tracking, some of the things that I'm doing. I'll share more about what the actual breakdown of that is in, I believe, my next video. There should be vlogs starting to come back. And I'm still playing with what I want to post over on the Bliss Institute YouTube channel. I enjoy doing tarot readings, and sometimes I find it to be fun to do them, but I know it's never something that I want to just have to pop out a tarot reading every day. I don't even recommend that for clients. I'm like, I never want to see you every week, every other day, anything like that. Like, give it some time. Give it some time for whatever's going on to change and to shift. So I don't know why I would even entertain doing a daily tarot reading or providing something where people can constantly be checking my stuff to go see what's going on with them and everything. I do honestly believe that we are the wells of wisdom. You know exactly what you need and you know exactly what you need to do, and you have all the resources within you to be able to make the decisions or changes that need to happen, or the organization of bringing people together and make large scale change. I feel like one of the things that I have learned the most from all of this work has been building trust between myself and trust with other people. I truly believe in myself and I believe in others. I truly believe that you can totally do it. Anything that you're desiring that you need to do, and that it will work out and be okay. But that source, that answer will come from within. I can maybe help guide and I could create containers and space for you to be able to explore it. That's what I do in my events. But I won't actually ever be making the decision for you. I'm just maybe laying out some information so it seems a little bit more clear to connect with it. So, yeah, I think that has to be part of the framework of what I build into the Bliss Institute YouTube. So we'll see what that ends up looking like. I do, of course, love doing book reviews and movie reviews. So maybe I'll do a little bit more of using movies and books to explore esoteric forms of knowledge. So maybe a little bit of movies and tarot and movies and astrology and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. I'm just going to be open and play around with it a little bit and see what happens. See what I enjoy. So that's kind of the framework for this first quarter of 2026. It's been good so far. It's been very slow and very gentle. I have a new practice that I incorporated as a part of the heart opening intention. And so I'll share more about that probably at the end of the quarter. But I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch, for taking the time to subscribe. And if you haven't subscribed, if you don't want to, it's okay. And I just appreciate having this space and being able to connect with you. So I hope you have a blessed and beautiful day. I'll see y'all later.